Here are some historical figures who are either a lot taller or a lot shorter than you might have assumed that they were. And not that there's anything wrong with being either tall or short, but it's just if they were back today, it might be something that you notice about them. But before we get going, we really have to talk about this guy, Napoleon. Now, he just wasn't that short by his day's standards. He was actually 5'6". The idea that he was a tiny little miniature person comes from British propaganda and also different measurement systems. So when his body was measured after he died in the French system, it came out, I think it was like 5'2", but he wasn't, he was 5'6", so he's pretty average. We'll start off with an easy one. George Washington, tall or short? Tall or short? Well, he was very, very tall. He was 6'2", and by the standards of the day, he was a colossus. He just towered over everybody. Next up, Joseph Stalin, shown here with Churchill and Truman, just for height scales. Tall or short? Tall or short? He was actually very short. He was 5'4". He did lots and lots to try and create this image that he was a much, much taller man than he was. Like, he would wear stacked shoes, and then all of the Russian propaganda showed him as being this giant of a man, but he was actually quite dinky. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There is something wrong with killing millions of your own people, but not with being 5'4". But Stalin definitely thought that there was, and he was very embarrassed about it. In fact, Harry Truman referred to him as the little squirt, which he's only a couple of inches taller than him, but he was not going to let him forget that. Churchill, on the end, about 5'6", and so is Truman. I just thought Stalin would be bigger. I thought that he would. You know, like, I guess you just think when someone does something that awful, they're going to be quite a big presence. Next up, Mary, Queen of Scots. Tall, short, tall, short. I mean, you know, she was a lot shorter by the end of it, wasn't she? But during her lifetime, Mary was really, really tall. She was 5'11". Like, for the time, that's really tall. Paintings with her stood next to her husband Darnley show them at level height, and he was renowned as being incredibly tall. And loads of people talk about how tall she is, and Elizabeth I was a bit like snooty about it when she found out how tall she was. She's like, well then, she's too tall. Yeah, Mary, Queen of Scots, strapping lass. Someone who wasn't quite so strapping, Queen Victoria. So we all know that she's kind of petite, but you might not know how petite. She was 4'11", which is even smaller than Kylie Minogue, who's 5 foot exactly. Yeah, Empress of the British Empire and tiny, tiny little person. Beethoven. That's a hard one to call, I think. I assumed tall. I assumed that he would be a big strapping fella, but he wasn't. He was about 5'3", 5'4", depending on which source you are looking at. And yeah, of course, you have to like calculate averages for the time, but that would have been even more petite than the average at the time. Mind you, from a lot of accounts, Beethoven just seems to have been like a really, like, as mad as a jar of twats most of the time. So I don't think that his height would be the thing that you would notice first about him. It would probably be that he was, you know, in the corner eating the furniture. But wonderful music. Rasputin, another Russian tall fella, 6'4". I mean, that's terrifying, isn't it? Like the mad eyes and the bushy hair, and like there's 6'4" of him as well. He wasn't as tall as this Russian. This is Peter the Great, the husband of Catherine the Great, and he stood at a ginormous 6'8" in the 18th century. That is impressive. You would notice that today, would you not? I would. Quite literally a tall king. Not a tall king, a tall emperor. Finally, Pablo Picasso. Don't let the perspective fool you here. What do you reckon? Tall, short, tall, short, tall, short. He was a short king. He was 5'4". I just don't really like calling him a king because he was also a bit of an arsehole. He was a short arsehole. You know, expressionism. And that is my roundup of tall and short people throughout history.